Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, bringing y'all a burgundy and gold preview versus the Eagles. Week 1, I'm bringing y'all stats, history, weaknesses and strengths, specific matchups, all of that. And I'm going to give my prediction at the end. And before we dive into this, make sure you go check out all of my scheduled live streams. I'm live streaming during the Chiefs and Texans game. I'll be analyzing that game live. Of course, I'm live streaming every burgundy and gold game, every Washington football team game every week. And then we're going to do a post-game live stream an hour after the game ends where y'all get to call in and voice y'all opinions and everything. And then, of course, pull up to all of my radio shows. All the links and phone numbers are in the description. Thursday, 7 to 8 p.m. Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. And, of course, Sunday, 2 to 4 p.m. every week. Also, make sure y'all go become a channel member of the best sports page out here doing it. And go get the best burgundy and gold merch money can buy out here. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get to it. Let's get it. Alright, so before we dive into what we look like now and what we will look like into the future, let's review the past. Starting with just overall history. Since the burgundy and gold and the Eagles have been playing each other since 1947, the burgundy and gold have the most wins over the course of this entire series. We have 86 wins, the Eagles have 79, and we have 5 ties together. But as of late, literally these past 6 matchups, since September 10th, 2017, the Eagles have won all of the games. So since September 10th, 2017, Eagles have won every matchup that we've had against them. And I feel like this is finally our chance to stop that streak. You know what I'm saying? Mostly because of injuries. They're looking crazy right now. Alshon Jeffrey is questionable. I'm expecting him to play. But he's always slightly injured. Miles Sanders is questionable. I'm expecting him to play. I'm expecting him to start too, but there's a little thing to that. Then Jalen Reagor, of course, is doubtful. He may be out for a couple of weeks, so I don't expect him to play. Lane Johnson is a little banged up, but I'm expecting him to play. And I'm expecting him to stay at right tackle, even with all the struggles they're having at left tackle. And then Vinny Curry and Derek Barnett are all questionable, but I'm expecting them to play and be fully powered anyway. But also Carson Wentz is day-to-day with a lower body injury. So I don't know if they'll err to the side of caution and sit him until he's 100% and just throw Jalen Hurts out there. I don't know. They more than likely will throw Carson Wentz out there. And I don't wish injuries on anybody. I don't care what team you are. These are real people with real lives trying to feed their real families. So I don't wish injuries on anybody. And I have Carson Wentz in one of my fantasy leagues. You know what I'm saying? I'm not playing him this week because he's going against us and I'm expecting us to shut him down. But you know what I'm saying? I wish the best for Carson Wentz throughout the rest of the season other than when he's playing us. But again, their left tackle situation is a struggle right now. Injuries all over the place. Jason Peters originally said that he would not play left tackle unless they paid him left tackle money. But as of the past couple of days, he did agree to go back to play left tackle, even though they didn't pay him more money. I don't know what they said to him to convince him, but he's going to go play left tackle. But we got to remember, he's 38 years old, and he's going to have to deal with easily the most athletic defensive end duo in the NFL, with Ryan Kerrigan coming off the bench and unsung hero Ryan Anderson coming off the bench too in rotation. And that's a lot. Jason Peters is a great tackle. I'm expecting him to be a Hall of Famer, but he is 38 years old, and there's a reason the Eagles don't want to give him more money. So I don't know, Jason Peters. It's looking a little dark for you. But Brandon Brooks, the guard, gonna be out in this game. And Andre Dillard, before Jason Peters took over left tackle, was struggling and then he got hurt, so that made it even worse. So right now they have slightly hurt Lane Johnson at right tackle. They have a backup at guard, and then they have 38 years old Jason Peters at left tackle. It's looking a little dark for him, I'm not gonna lie. But as far as we go, really our only injuries are all backups. Thomas Davis is questionable, Alex Smith is questionable, Sadiq Charles is questionable, and Fabian Moreau is questionable. All of which could play if we probably needed them to against the Eagles, but we're not going to need any of those guys to play. Again, they're all backups anyway. Alex Smith is third string quarterback. Sadiq Charles, as of right now, is backup tackle. He would probably be starting if he got any training camp practice in, but literally until yesterday or the day before that, that was the first time he finally had on pads and was at least doing one-on-one drills. if Fabian Moreau, of course, is the backup outside corner. With a lot of talent, but at the same time has an injury history, and Ronald Darby, Kendall Fuller, and Jimmy Moreland have looked way better in practice anyway. So right now, the Eagles are honestly one of the most hurt teams out there in the NFL, and I really feel sorry for them. But beyond that, let's look at our 2019 stats and rankings so we can look at what our teams look like most recently on an NFL field in a regular season game. Well, total yards per game, the Eagles had us beat by a lot. They're in the middle of the pack with 360.8 yards per game in 2019. We're second to last with 274.7, even though that's really a bad representation because Bill Callahan had us running the ball, running it some more, and then running it even more just so we can hurry up and get out of these games quickly. So we can hurry up and tank. Our games would finish and other teams would just be going into the fourth quarter. It was crazy. I've never seen nothing like it. And points per game wise, the rankings should be fairly similar. And the Eagles are, of course, somewhere in the middle of the pack towards the top. They had 24.1 points per game last season. And we are dead last with 16.6. Not surprised at all. So if we're looking at history, this matchup sounds like an easy win for the Eagles, but we're going to get to that later. Now defense-wise, yards allowed per game. The Eagles are towards the top of the pack. They're 10th with 331.7 yards allowed per game. And then here comes us, 6th from last with 385.1 yards allowed per game. And then points allowed per game, the Eagles are right in the middle, just about, with 22.1. And then here we come, 6th from last with 27.2. Last year just wasn't a great year. So if you're just basing it off what we did last year, it sounds like the Eagles should have an easy win. But that's just a snapshot of what we looked like last year. That's before we got rid of Bruce Allen. That's before we brought in Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio, Scott Turner. That's before we drafted Chase Young. That's before the organization actually put an effort to develop Dwayne Haskins and form a playbook around his skill set and the things he's best at. That's before we drafted Antonio Gibson, before Bryce Love was healthy, before Steven Sims and Terry McLaurin are taking the next steps in their development, before our linebacker group was this deep, you know what I'm saying? There's a whole lot of changes we've made. Eagles-wise, they haven't made really a lot of changes. Their first-round rookie is hurt, won't play. They drafted Jalen Hurts for some reason, and he more than likely won't even play. I'm pretty sure Eagles fans are hoping that he doesn't play. They're hoping that Carson Wentz can stay healthy. So their team hasn't really changed much except for them getting Darius Slay, but he even said it himself he can't cover Terry McLaurin. So it looks like we've made vast changes, and they're generally the same, and which isn't a bad thing because they were a great team last year, and it's no reason they won a division with all the injuries they had. So shouts out to the Eagles for that last year. The Cowboys underperformed. The Eagles were one of the most hurt teams in the NFL, and the Eagles still found a way to win that division. So them going into the 2020 season pretty much the same as they were 2019 should still be a pretty good team, but they're suffering injuries all over the place again. And right now, it's hitting them in the offensive line, which is one of the worst places to have injuries. But our last snapshot of what our teams look like from 2019, we actually had a better turnover differential than the Eagles. We were in the middle of the pack with a +1, and then the Eagles are 8 spots down from us with a -3 turnover differential. So at the very least, at least we didn't turn the ball over much, and we forced turnovers a little bit last year, while the Eagles were on the wrong side of the coin in that way. But again, these are just snapshots of 2019. Same with penalties. Per game wise, the Eagles were in the middle, kind of towards the top of the middle, with 7.47 penalties per game, while we were towards the bottom of the middle with 8.19 penalties per game last season. And again, these are snapshots of 2019. It's not smart to make predictions on what will happen in 2020 based on 2019 because, again, our team had the biggest makeover I think I've ever seen in franchise history. Faces of the franchise, coaching staff, front office, players, all of that. We didn't go crazy in free agency, but we did bring in a lot of talent that will have notable impacts. And plus, Trey Apke is suddenly stepping up at free safety. Jerron Christian suddenly stepping up at left tackle. This team looks completely different from last year. Probably the biggest, quickest makeover I've ever seen in Burgundy and Gold franchise history. So you really can't base what the Burgundy and Gold would look like in 2020 based off of how they looked in 2019. Completely different. Which takes me to my direct matchups. Starting with our defensive line versus their offensive line, I easily give our defensive line the edge. I mean, it's not even close. Even if their offensive line was healthy and they still had everybody that they had last season, the age that they were, I mean, if it was just literally somehow you could go back in time and bring their 2019 offensive line into 2020, I would still give our edge to our defensive line. And honestly, to me, it wouldn't really be close because we arguably have the best defensive line in the league. Easily the most athletic. That's not even up for debate. And then you have Ryan Kerrigan and Ryan Anderson off the bench. Remember, Ryan Anderson was tied for the most forced fumbles last season, and he only started, like 2 games, the games Ryan Kerrigan was out. And you can't forget that we still have Ryan Kerrigan, future Hall of Famer. At some point in this season, he's going to be our franchise's sack leader. And these are guys off the bench. And Ryan Anderson is a great chess piece because not only can he force fumbles, his pass rush finally developed last season, but his tight end coverage also developed mightily last season. And we already know coming out of college, he was one of the best edge setters in that draft, period, as far as the run game goes. But now that he can pass rush pretty well, he has a knack for forcing fumbles and stripping the ball, and he can cover tight ends. Very important chess piece on the edge right there. And then Chase Young, Montez Sweat starting. I mean, I'm sorry. Unless there's an injury, I'm more than likely give the edge to our defensive line no matter what offensive line we go against this season. With Jack Del Rio as defensive coordinator too, he's going to move everybody everywhere. Poor Jason Peters. He's going to have to block Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Ryan Anderson, and Ryan Kerrigan all in the same game. Same thing with Lane Johnson. Because Jack Del Rio is going to move everybody. He's going to come in with constant subs, so everybody's fresh, 100% healthy, ready to go. Everybody gets to take a break, and then everybody's switching sides too. So he won't even be able to start with Montez Sweat, adapt to how Montez Sweat plays, and then now suddenly here comes Chase Young. Now you got to figure out how to block Chase Young, all within the same game. Then here comes Ryan Kerrigan. Then here comes Ryan Anderson. You know what I'm saying? So I do really feel sorry for that Eagles offensive line, and they're still a pretty decent offensive line, even with all of the injuries that's happened. But I definitely give the major edge to our defensive line. Now, our offensive line versus their defensive line. Now, Fletcher Cox and all of those guys, they have a pretty good defensive line. And to be completely objective, just based off of what we've seen, the proof that we have, I would give them the edge in this, slight edge. But I don't want people to sleep on how good our offensive line should be this year. And I'm expecting them all to step up big time. Trent Williams and Ron Rivera have had endless compliments for Jerron Christian starting at left tackle. They said he looks great out there. Wes Martin, we brought in all types of competition to compete with him at guard, and he still beat everybody out, including Joshua Garnett, who just got moved to the practice squad. Then you have Chase Roulier, who's been one of the most consistent centers in the league. He's not really talked about enough. Then you have Brandon Sheriff, automatic Pro Bowler every year at right guard. And Morgan Moses, this is the first season that he's actually fully healthy coming into the season. It's been a few years since he's actually been healthy going into a training camp and a week 1 game. So it's still Morgan Moses, but he should not be anywhere near as bad as he's been these past couple of seasons. But I'm still going to give the Eagles the slight edge here just out of respect because we know that their defensive line is good. And our offensive line, I'm expecting it to be good, but it's unproven. So just being completely objective, I'm going to give them the slight edge there. Now, our receivers versus their DBs. Honestly, I got to give us the edge being completely objective. Terry McLaurin can't be covered by anybody in that DB group on the Eagles. Darius Slay is their best DB, and even he said, ask him, look up the video, ask him. He's the one that said he can't cover Terry McLaurin. So if that's y'all best DB, and then you have Terry McLaurin, Steven Sims, who's even better than what we saw last season with the Cowboys game where he was just killing them. And then Dontrell Inman looks like he finally found a way to revive his career here. Him and Dwayne Haskins have a crazy rapport, especially in the red zone. I'm expecting our wide receivers to eat on those DBs. And you can't forget, when you're talking about our receivers, you got to include J.D. McKissick, Antonio Gibson, and sometimes Bryce Love also added to that mix. And you may even have to include the tight ends like Logan Thomas, who they've said looks great in camp. So honestly, I do got to give our receiving core the edge against the Eagles DBs. And then the Eagles wide receivers versus our DBs, it's tough because they have a lot of talent in their room, but there's a lot of injuries. And with Deshaun Jackson, you never know, man. That man will play the first half of the first game of the season. You won't see him again until week 8, so I'm not betting on him to stay healthy. Again, I don't wish injuries on anybody, but nobody, not even an Eagles fan, will put their life savings on Deshaun Jackson making it out of this game fully healthy. That just doesn't, it just wouldn't make sense. Then Alshon Jeffrey is already dealing with the injury, even though it's not that bad, but you know what I'm saying? And then our cornerback group is Ronald Darby coming for revenge. I'm expecting him to look like the 2017 version of himself, but the healthy version. Jack Del Rio's his defensive coordinator, which is the best defensive coordinator he's played under. I mean, he's even shouted him out and said that Jack Del Rio's literally getting the best out of him just because of his scheme. Then you have Kendall Fuller looking like his pre-Chief self. He was arguably the best slot corner in the NFL before we traded him away. He looked a little iffy for the Chiefs. And now what I'm hearing from camp, he looks like what he looked like before he left our team, which means he's looking like one of the best corners in the league, honestly. And then Jimmy Moreland, they said he's developed. He's always around the ball. So our DB group is very much slept on, and I'm just going to have to give us the edge there. Now, Zach Ertz, who's, kind of struggling with his contract talks with the Eagles. And Dallas Goedert is still there, and there's still very skilled tight ends that can hurt you on 3rd and longs and pick up those first downs. But this is all entirely new defense. Jack Del Rio, defensive coordinator. We have linebackers that can cover. So I'm expecting us to finally be able to mitigate some of the impact that the Eagles tight ends have that they normally have against us. I'm not expecting them to completely shut it down. But the 3rd and 15s getting picked up by Zach Ertz so consistently, I feel like that will come to an end. So I'm going to get an edge to our DB group, honestly, over the Eagles receivers. They have a very talented receiving core, but with injuries and who knows what's going on, and then our far new and improved defense, I mean, our pass rush alone could turn 75 overall corners into 85 overall corners. So I'm expecting our DBs to play at a very high level. I'm expecting them to surprise a lot of people, even a lot of burgundy and gold fans that just aren't hip to how talented our cornerback group is. And then Trey Apke has emerged at free safety. Landon Collins is going to be in the box more where he can do what he does best, and that's tackle people. Kevin Pierre-Louis, Sean Deion Hamilton are our starting outside linebackers. And they can cover like nobody's business. I mean, Sean Deion Hamilton is literally a top 3 coverage linebacker in this league already. So again, I'm giving the edge to our DBs and linebacker group versus their wide receivers and tight ends. So with all of that calculated, I'm giving us the edge, the burgundy and gold. I see us winning 24-17. And I'm not expecting many teams to put up 14 or more points against this defense. But the Eagles are still the Eagles. They're the reigning division winners. And just out of respect, even with the injuries that they're having, I'm expecting this to be a good game. But I honestly do feel like objectively we could come out on top and win 24-17. And I'm not expecting like blowouts like I've seen a lot of people saying like we're going to win 40-10 and stuff like that. But I am expecting our defense to shut down the Eagles, to have one of their worst games they have of the season, which could be 17 points because they still have a pretty deadly offense. And I'm expecting our offense to put up more points than people expect because Scott Turner's offense is so high powered, it's so confusing and unpredictable, and we just have freak athletes everywhere on that offense. So I'm expecting big things. And again, nobody can cover Terry McLaurin in the NFC East, especially not Darius Slay. Again, ask him. He said it himself. And I'm expecting that to be a constant mismatch all throughout the day. Dwayne Haskins finally looks and sounds like a franchise quarterback. I'm expecting him to get better and better throughout the season and throughout his career. But I think even early on, as in week 1 against the Eagles, I'm expecting him to at least look pretty good. And at some point, I'm expecting him to be a top 10 quarterback, even maybe by the end of the season. And I can already hear the comment section being full of a whole bunch of people with Benny Siegel beards talking about, you drawing, slickhead. And then all the DMV people gonna be in there in the replies talking about, you just like tripping, Mo. Kid. And I'm here for all of it. So I'm gonna be in them comment sections. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please like this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. Please subscribe if you haven't. Definitely hit that bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification every time I come out with a video, every time I schedule a live stream, and every time I start up a live stream. And of course, I appreciate all of my supporters, everybody that donates, all of my channel members, all of my sponsors, especially the Pro Bowl sponsors whose names you see scrolling on the screen right now. All of the money goes right back into the stream and the content and everything, making the live streams better, improving my camera quality, improving my mic quality. Y'all help me build this PC that I'm recording on right now. Green screen, all of that. Again, I appreciate y'all's support. I'll catch y'all later. See y'all Thursday at the latest for the Chiefs-Texans game that I'm a live stream during. I'm out.